The Mesa Chamber of Commerce Inside Business podcast brings you a unique view of Mesa through its vibrant business community and the subjects that are important. The podcast is produced in the Mesa Chamber of Commerce Media Studio, sponsored by the University of Phoenix. Our podcast is hosted by Mesa Chamber of Commerce CEO Sally Harrison. Please enjoy this episode of the Mesa Chamber Inside Business podcast.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the Inside Business Podcast. My name is Bob Nelson. I am the Director of Communications for the Mesa Chamber of Commerce. And today, joining us in the podcast studio, we are welcoming Jared Taylor with Heritage Academy and Paul Revere Academy. Welcome, Jared.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Oh, it's good to have you. So, Jared, take a minute and introduce yourself. Tell everybody who you are and what you do at the academies.
Sure, thank you. Jared Taylor, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer, Chairman of the Governing Board for the Heritage Academy family of schools, which includes Paul Revere Academy, a brand new school that's located right on the EVIT campus. We'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we'll get some details on that. That's cool.
Yeah.
So how long have you had the role?
I've been in this role for maybe 6 or 7 years now,
Okay.
with Heritage and Education for about 15 years now. It's been great.
Cool. And tell us a little bit about the history of the academy and the organization behind it.
You know, this is our 30th anniversary this year.
Wow.
Heritage received the fourth charter in the very first year when the state of Arizona authorized charter schools. So we've been here
the actual fourth charter given out for thank goodness you couldn't see that at home. The actual fourth charter given out by the state.
The first year.
Wow, that's amazing.
So one of the pioneers in school choice here in the East Valley and in the state of Arizona. It was founded by my father, Earl Taylor, and he got a call about this new thing called charter schools by someone we know named Jeff Flake. He was at the time the executive director of the Goldwater Institute, and they were an advocate for school choice. And so we've known the Flakes forever. They're wonderful people. And Jeff says, "Hey, Earl, you need to come over and check this out." And there were about 200 people learned about it, and we started. And 30 years later,
you're still
here we are.
You're doing it. So let's kind of dive in a little bit on some of the details about what you're doing and why you're doing it, and kind of what you're hoping your impact is in the community long term. So let's talk about the mission and the values for both Paul Revere and Heritage Academy. How do those align with the needs of the Mesa community?
Yeah, that's important to know because we are our vision is to build America's heroes. So what does that mean? It means three things. Number one, to build good character in our young people. Number two is to learn the ideals and values of the great men and women that founded our nation. And three, it's to learn how to be of service and benefit our community. So when you think about, you know, the business community, the Mesa Chamber, and we're happy to be a member of the Mesa Chamber, businesses want people of high integrity that show up to work, that are honest, right? Hard work.
Makes sense.
That's
Sure.
why and we want people of high moral character in our communities. That's the foundation of our whole system. So that's why it's the first part of our mission. Number two, we want people that love our country, know its ideals and values, such as free markets, respect and self-governance, self-learning, those things that our founders just loved and exemplified so well, because that's what our businesses flourish on, is the free markets and the opportunity to serve each other, which is our third mission. At the essence of every business is first adding value to somebody and then getting some reward in return. But it starts with service. And sometimes we think of service as just helping old ladies across the road, and that's part of it. True, there's no doubt that a huge part of understanding service is trying to benefit mankind. But it's okay for people to also earn a profit and run a good business. At the core of all that is service. So that's how we dovetail in.
And I'm going to ask this next question, and I think maybe some of what you've just said will cover this, but I think there's some granular detail you can add to this. Talk about how these schools stand out from other educational options.
Sure. Yeah, because there's, I don't know, 400 or 500 charters now. There's dozens of district schools. And I was lucky to be, I served for 4 years on the State Board of Education. Governor Ducey had appointed me during his first term. And it was an honor to get to know a lot of the great charter leaders and district superintendents around the state of Arizona. We stand out really in two areas from this huge thing called K-12 education.
Yeah.
Number one, we are consistently ranked as the number one highest quality teachers in Arizona. And that's a big deal because
Sure.
if you're
Yeah, it's a
choosing
huge
where
deal.
your child should go, don't you want them to have the best teachers?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge deal.
Yeah, and we also have small classroom sizes. There's a lot of schools that struggle with classroom sizes, but we have on the smaller side. That's not completely unique to us, but if you have a small manageable class size with the best, highest quality teachers, great things can happen to your young people. So that's number one, is highest quality teachers, consistently ranked number one in the state. Number two is just the highest quality network, right? With broad offerings. People are really surprised at our little 3.5 acre campus in downtown Mesa. We have about 60 sports teams.
It is actually. It's funny because you blink and you miss it, right?
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
you know, and yet it's so there's so much depth to that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And it's and we have 80 piece choirs, and these people consistently get good spots on regional and all state choirs and orchestras and things like that. And so from this little tiny campus, comes really great things. I'll give you one other thing, that when we talk about outcomes from great teachers and the highest quality, we're typically in the top 10 of highest quality school systems, because that's really our focus. Quality is what matters. We don't need to be on every corner, and we're not really good at marketing, right? But because we're just focused on great teachers and focused on serving our families. But our outcomes, our test scores are just as high as everybody else's, so high as the best in the state, the best in the nation.
Sure.
And another thing that we're really excited about is we have between 40 and 60% of our graduates also graduate with an associate's degree, a full-blown associate's degree from Rio Salado College. It's fully accredited, double accredited from the Higher Learning Commission and NACEP, which is another accreditation standard for dual enrollment opportunities. So you think about the value we're adding to these families, where they get a high-quality high school diploma, and they actually usually get 2 or 3 associate's degrees from Maricopa County Community College District. And they're able to graduate with their bachelor's degrees 1 or 2 years earlier if they want to.
Sure.
They don't all. But if you can get a $50,000, $60,000 job a couple years prior in your career with no or very little student debt, I mean, you're talking of economic value into these families'
Cross that
life.
question off, since you're now answering that question.
Yeah. We're talking, $100,000 to $200,000 of economic value, depending on how they do this. And we've had parents come back to us, and they're just so grateful that not only do we have foundations of high moral character, the foundations of what America really was built on and how to perpetuate that greatness, and then learning the essence of citizenship, which is going and doing good, serving, layering those foundational layers with this economic value layer, because it's not all about money.
Sure.
But if you can
absolutely,
layer
100%,
on
right,
a couple $100,000 of economic value,
not bad.
no wonder we're
No,
always
it's
ranked
right.
in the top schools.
So talk a little bit, and obviously you dove right into some of the workforce questions and some of the value questions on that. But talk about, if do your students stay here? Like, do they become community members in Mesa or the East Valley at least, and they stay here, right?
A lot of them do. When we track where they go to college or universities, largely it's regional here in Arizona, or maybe the extended Southwest. There's some that love to go to New York and Florida and overseas, things like that. But they like Arizona and largely contribute right here in our local economy.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about how your peers, the rest of chamber membership, can get involved and help you guys in your mission.
Well, first off, just be aware. And we just want to express gratitude to be a member of the chamber. We know that everybody's working, and I think if they just understand that we're part of the ecosystem of the economy in very foundational ways, And we are very much in tune with what business needs, which is they want people to show up on time. They want people that are self-learners and self-governors with high ethics. A lot of times it's easy to get tied down to technical expertise, and I want to talk about that at some point too. But when you look at what really is transferable across all industries, horizontal and vertical, it's really people of high moral character that that businesses need. And we love to hear from different businesses that ask for our scholars. We call them scholars to come in. We have people that do internships around the courts. Allow our scholars. They like to go in and observe there, so they like to go to the the public and the private sector. So I think awareness. If you have internships that you're interested in some great scholars here in the downtown or East Mesa area, we'd love to hear about it, and we share that generously with our families. They love that, and they love to participate.
Cool. Let's kind of talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you guys are facing today in that K-12 atmosphere, that industry a little bit. I don't really want to call it an industry, but in that educational atmosphere. Talk about some of the things that you guys are running into in that space.
Sure. The cell phones in the classroom is a big deal. There's been talk from the state level about passing laws. Some other states have passed laws on that. I think that's a challenge that is probably less of a challenge that we have, because we've already had pretty strict rules, like park your phone before you come in, right? We have a little carrier on it, but still there is a cultural obsession about social media, and there's a lot of derivative ills that our society is struggling with that come off overuse of social media, and we definitely see that in our schools. So that's definitely a challenge. After COVID, there was a kind of a negative step function in terms of people's commitment to academic aspirations. And I think part of that is there's a cultural skepticism on the value of higher education, or education at all, because it's truly, schools get a lot of criticism, some very fairly. Higher ed gets a lot of criticism, some fairly, some not. But we've definitely seen more discipline issues and more maybe apathy in our classrooms. And we typically have the very highly motivated scholars.
Sure.
So if we're seeing that, and I've talked to a lot of other people in other charters and districts, I know they're seeing it as well. So we're trying to say, hey, listen, the investment in education is one of your best investments ever. Take this serious. You got one shot at it when you're 18. Education is very expensive.
The price tag only goes up.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about accessibility. So you're a charter school, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
parents that are interested in getting engaged with the school, how do they start that process?
Well, they can come in. We always like them to just come take a tour, right? It's so much easier to understand how your child will fit in, how your family will fit in, if you just come walk around, come visit with the school leaders, maybe a teacher or two. Talk to your friend. You probably know someone that's either graduated from Heritage or in Heritage. So we start there. The online process, if you want to submit an application, it's currently open right now. It's very easy. You submit, I don't know, it takes about 5 minutes to just start the process.
And what's that website?
It's heritageacademyaz.com.
Okay.
For Paul Revere Academy, it's paulrevere.tech. But again, it's super easy to get started. First, just come take a tour. And usually 8 out of 10 people that take a tour sign up.
Sure.
Because they've done their homework and they're excited about what
if they're investing in the tour, they've probably done some other research.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about the difference between the two institutions. So between Heritage and Paul Revere.
Yeah, originally Heritage Academy, and it still is today, more of your classical traditional school, or you could call it a small comprehensive type. So it has a balance of academics, arts, and athletics. And when I say classical, I mean we study Latin. We require 2 years of language for a high school diploma. We study classical literature, right? And a lot of that is part of our character development program, right? Socrates says an unexamined life is not worth living. Okay, so really our thesis is the more we understand about ourselves and our character and how we can be better, the better we can communicate. Now, that typically does not include technical education. In fact, over Western civilization, technical and character education has been at odds. That's a podcast for another day. Paul Revere Academy is set up where you have a high school program on the campus of EVIT, which, as you know, is the gold standard for high school technical education in the nation. It's unbelievable what they have over there, 40 programs. So while at Heritage Academy, you can take a huge, there's a huge number of electives like band or orchestra, choir, or drama or arts or athletics. At Paul Revere Academy, all the electives are your technical education over at EVIT. And then, so we teach the 4 academic subjects at Paul Revere Academy, and they go literally across the sidewalk.
So it's very interwoven with
Yeah.
EVIT. Okay.
So it is the premier high school technical education program. Everybody else has to lose their lunchtime and get bussed over. They lose a lot of time. They're riding these buses back and forth or driving back and forth. This is literally on the campus, and they invited us to be there. And we're proud to be part of their community and contribute.
So talk a little bit about what the future holds. So, obviously you guys, like any organization, plan for the future. Talk about some of those plans.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We're going to continue on both campuses, Paul Revere Academy, to continue to grow. They have 60. They can probably grow to about 200, 300 right now, which is great. So if you like technical education, medical or cosmetology or fire science, cool stuff like that, you definitely want to get in now because the wait lists are going to start to grow. This is the second year, so not a lot of people know about it. We want to get the word out. On the heritage side, it's going to continue to just be an awesome A+ school. They typically fill up within the first week of opening applications. Some fill up within the first 2 hours.
Wow.
And so we have a campus in East Mesa. Literally by noon, it has twice as many applications as it does seats on the very first day of application. So what the future holds for us is we're going to focus like a laser on our families and how to serve them in the highest quality manner with our mission statement. We're not changing our mission statement. We're not lost. We're not we don't wander around what we're here to do, but we want to prepare our young people and love these families and support them just as best as we can and connect them with great opportunities for higher ed or career advancement or technical development like at EVIT or here with the Chamber, so they can use those great foundations to go do good in the world.
Cool. Jared, if somebody wanted to call you, do you know the number?
You can.
I'm probably throwing this a curveball at you right now.
Yeah, our website is heritageacademyaz.com, and the phone number is 480-969-5641.
Bam.
Yeah, you're welcome to come take a tour at Paul Revere Academy, paulrevere.tech. I don't know that number, but
that's all right.
It's on the website, and please come take a tour.
Anything else you want to share with us before we wrap up?
Bob, I just want to thank you for inviting me here.
Aww.
And talking about education is a wonderful thing. It's so foundational to what we're doing. And we just know how important it is for a thriving community and the success of businesses to have good educated people. And we want to continue to contribute in that manner. So thank you again for the invite.
Thank you, Jared. Appreciate you taking the time to join us. I know we're probably going to do another episode because we didn't get to have Lindsay with you today. So I'm sure she's going to want some time on the microphone. So we'll schedule another time. Jared, thank you so much for joining us from the Heritage Academy. As always, please listen to us anytime. mesachamber.org is where the podcast episodes are stored. And you can listen to past episodes pretty much forever. Thank you very much, Jared.
Thank you, Bob.
This has been a Mesa Chamber of Commerce Inside Business podcast. You can find all podcast episodes at iTunes, Spotify, or your own favorite podcast website. You can also find them online at mesachamber.org. Content of this podcast is copyright the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, unless otherwise noted.